All right, welcome to section 3 in the first module today, or in this video, we're going to be talking about awareness. So it's time to sort of look inside and see what's going on inside of you so you can see how that's affecting the results that you currently have. So far in your life, you might think that events have just happened to you, but once you start becoming aware, then you'll sort of see where you have control to take over on that. So I just want to start a little bit with a little poem that I found that applies to awareness that I just really loved. So it's called Apply Within by Susie Kassem. I think it's Kassem and not Kasem, not really sure. But so it basically says, not basically, it does say, you once told me you wanted to find yourself in the world, and I told you to first apply within, to discover the world within you. You once told me you wanted to save the world from all its wars, and I told you first save yourself from the world and all the wars you put yourself through. So I think that this poem really speaks very well at our desire to look externally for everything and externally for answers that we're looking for. We want it to look externally to discover ourselves. We want to be able to fix the world around us, but really it's so much of the work just needs to be done inside ourselves and inside our own container. So any change that you really desire starts first by noticing what's happening inside yourself. And then you can really just be such a better platform for other people, a better example, and it just makes all the difference. So before we really dive into actual awareness, I wanted to bring up the importance of non-judgment in this section, because once you become aware of things that are happening, it can be really kind of natural to blame or judge yourself for certain things and really internalize it even more. But really what you're observing here is just data. Okay, so please just keep an open mind to it, but don't put any shame or guilt or anything against yourself. So any shame, blame, or judgment in actuality is harmful to this process of learning and growing. So you need to learn some self-forgiveness here as well for things that you might have done in the past that you're not really happy with, or behaviors that you're doing right now that you suddenly start realizing that, maybe isn't the best way you should have handled yourself. And it's just not helpful to make yourself feel bad for it. So if you do find yourself saying some mean things about yourself, I know it sounds kind of interesting, but really you can just apologize to yourself. Remind yourself that you are learning new things, right? Remind yourself that it's like a child learning how to walk. You would never make them feel bad or, tell them that they shouldn't do it or that they're terrible and slow, once they fall down when they're learning to walk. You give them encouragement, you tell them to try again, and they do until they figure it out, right? So a great phrase to use when you find yourself coming up with information that maybe you're uncomfortable with is to really just say, that's interesting. That's something that I've used a lot to help myself. It keeps my mind very open to, I wonder why this is happening, right? Rather than like, oh, I can't believe I'm doing this and feeling bad about it. So just remember that phrase, maybe keep it on a post-it or keep it somewhere. But everything, when you consider it just interesting, then it truly does just become more of a data analysis. So what you're going to look for when it comes to awareness, right, is the language that you hear and that you use, right? So how do you speak to yourself? How do you speak to other people? Are you saying unkind things? Do you gossip about other people? Or, how do you do that? How do others speak to you, right? And to themselves and to other people? What are you witnessing around you in your circle? And how much kindness do you see versus unkind words in the world? Are you seeing, people that are inclined to celebrate and to, say nice things? And how many complaints are you offering up to everybody? Like I mentioned with the traffic jam example, if you do come through a bad event or something has happened, how many people do you give that complaint to? How many people do you tell the story to? Right. And especially if it's stuff that's out of your control. Weather is a huge example of this, right? When there's weather that we don't like, then we complain about it all the time, but there's literally nothing we can do about it, right? So why are we letting something out of our control affect our well-being like this? And yeah, so if you say positive comments, this is also something to look out for that I've noticed recently is say that you're happy about something that you're working on, or you even shared with somebody that you started this course and you're working on this and that you're working on, building boundaries or whatever. How often might you hear a response where instead of them saying, wow, good for you, I'm so happy for you, might you hear them turn it immediately back on themselves and talk about how bad they are at boundaries, or how they could never do a course like this, or how things like this don't work for them. People might have that with exercise or with running, right? So you get excited about something and you tell it to somebody else and they don't even say anything to you to congratulate you. They just immediately feel like they feel bad if they're not lined up with you. So this is something that happens a lot. Again, this is something that this course will absolutely help with. So share it if you find that this is all very useful and you have somebody that does this a lot, that turns things around about how bad they are, like that they turn it into a negative thing about themselves. This will also help them too, to sort of, check their language and see what's happening with them as well. You're also looking for some reactions to life events, right? So unexpected events, car troubles, sickness, schedule changes, anything like that, that obviously is not really a good thing to celebrate, but again, normal, natural things that happen, but typically unexpected. And we always say they happen at the worst time, right? But how do you react to these? How much extra suffering do you take on? Are you, do you complain and complain and complain? And do you really make yourself feel terrible about it and worry and get a lot of anxiety? And do you spread the energy to other people around you? So if people around you are trying to have a good time and you're really worried about something and you're sitting there and they're all trying to make you feel better and trying to soothe you, that energy is affecting the group as well. So you have to kind of keep an eye out for that. And then are you making the problem maybe bigger than you need to? Like, is it something that really, it has an easy fix at the end of the day? Like you already know what the solution is, but then you're still making it this big deal and just amplifying it in a way that you don't have to. So as you're, again, no shame or blame or anything like that, but as you're starting to pay more attention to this, just start in the back of your mind considering how you might do it differently moving forward, because this will be a part of the exercise in the next couple of videos that we'll come up with as well. But just think about that. Like, do I need to be making this the way that I am, or can I handle this a different way moving forward? Because we've been conditioned to believe that being high stress is normal and that it's just the way it has to be, but it is so not true. I'm a living, breathing example of it. I'd be happy to talk with you about it, but it is not true. You do not have to buy into the societal norms of being all high stress and anxiety, right? Just because something is normal doesn't mean it's the best way. All it means is it's what most people you're witnessing are doing. So for the worksheet, or there's a guide available in this video for creating awareness. So this one isn't necessarily a worksheet, but it just contains some journal prompts, questions to ask yourself. And then also it includes a daily practice that you can use to help boost your confidence. And I recommend, you don't need to print off a sheet for every single day, but it explains the daily process that you can just use a regular notebook or whatever to go through and do that. So yeah, so then as you're kind of ramping this up or doing some of your reflections, then please come to the group. Let us know, what are you observing? What are you finding? What are some new realizations maybe that you've come up with? We'd love to hear those in there. And moving forward, we will be talking in the next video about how to shift your negative thoughts, the things that you might be observing, and how to change those over into some more positivity for you. See you there.